I don't know. I mean, there's like
our
they
kid.
don't have like footage of that. Like, oh wait, I disappeared 5 years ago. Welcome to the Rewatchers on the Pod, where we're currently watching The Leftovers. This episode covers season 3, episodes
5 and 6.
5 and 6. Thank you. Chill. Jeez. You're here with me, Tyler Harris, and
Tyler McKinley.
Justin Hammer.
And possibly at some point, Gwen, she's playing fast and loose with time. And we're here for it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. If you missed any of the last 2 episodes, Tyler McKinley has been gracious enough to write us up a couple of summaries of everything that happened in those episodes, and I'm about to read them as quickly as possible. Here we go. Episode 5, introducing the sequel to French, French 2, Whispered Over Anything, Gospel Music, Obituaries, Bad Sex, and Magnifico. Try French 2 today. The Frenchest word you can think of, huh? Agent 47 pops in his iPod Shuffle and gets in a T-pose to await his next costume change. Just kidding, he's going full Dr. Manhattan. I think I had a dream like this once. Big boom. Matt needs a pilot. Matt is pissed that Laurie is ruining is ruining his Three Wise Men roleplay. Matt wants on the Lion sex boat. According to Hollywood rules, Matt has psychic powers. Bridgeman is God. Fraser Banks, okay? Laurie lets the Evie secret slip. God casts judgment on a passenger and sends him to Poseidon. God's name is David Burton. God kills people every day, so naturally nobody cares. Matt becomes Fraser and is thrown into the lion's den. Matt Samson's his way out of fucking a lion statue. Matt wants God's attention. Matt truly finds God on a lion sex cult ship in Australia. God is freed from his physical shell by a descendant of the Abraham of lions. Friedrich Nietzsche's host gets an erection. Jesus. The Australian police kill the God killer by cosmic law. That officer is now God. Episode 6, cold open episode. The holographic Charizard of The Leftovers. Laurie was Laundry Lady's therapist. This is the first time Laurie started sucking as a mental health professional, or has that always been the type of thing? Laurie reenacts her favorite scene from The Exorcist and ruins a beautiful shower tile job. Laurie wants to be part of the crazies. Laurie is Jason Bourne. Matt is an expert on physicist fashion. The crazies want Kevin to go on a fetch quest to the Afterlife Hotel. Nora is such a people person. Totally wouldn't ruin a perfectly good stakeout. The Bobby show up at the crazy camp. Kevin knocks him the fuck out. Nora is a fucking child. She should go be with her children. At least she would be with her peers. Fucking toxic sack of asses. Laurie supports John in murder. Everyone has side quests for Kevin's fetch quest. Last Supper roleplay, very popular in Australia. Laurie drugs the whole body of Christ and the apostles partake. Nora hates ushers because they ruined the beach ball time. Jesus enters Jerusalem, but with the lack of fanfare like last time. Laurie and Kevin play all truth, no dare. This can't possibly get awkward. The end.
But it turns out it didn't. I thought it was leading to... I was like, wait, did she not know that he cheated on her? And I thought that's where that was going.
I see.
Because they were like trading back and forth, and she's like, "Oh, I was pregnant when everything happened." He's like, "Oh, I was fucking someone else." So it didn't get as awkward as I thought. But.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk about our good friend and local. Just good guy pastor, Matt. What'd you guys think of this episode?
I have very conflicted feelings about this episode.
Ooh.
I almost titled it "Matt Jumps the Shark," which, to be fair, I feel like they don't have a few characters, but I also feel like it's the production thing. I feel like it's we need to get somewhere. I feel like that particularly, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but particularly with kind of Nora, like it kind of feels like some things were unearned, but I feel like there's a little bit of that with Matt in this episode too.
Sure. So yeah, we basically have this whole, everyone's in Australia except for the guys who are writing the book about the shit happening in Australia. So they decide that they need to go to Australia and get Kevin back to Texas before the 7th anniversary of the departure.
It's like that time Jesus ran off to hang out with the adults. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that was when he was 12, I guess. So it's like that time Jesus went to party, days before
the temple,
the festivities,
where he was teaching them all about partying.
Yeah,
as a 12-year-old,
and the
in
apostles
temple.
had to go get him back.
I remember that story. Yeah, that was my favorite lesson.
They had to take a long ass trip. Like, God, Jesus ran off partying again. Can't tell anyone. Can't write that in the book.
God, Luke, you gotta leave out the cool parts. We told you that's just for us.
Luke is a slave to accuracy.
But yeah, that whole I do love that we get just Matt leveraging other people's faith into getting favors for what he needs when he's like, hey, yeah, I mean, it's like Jesus would want you to do it, and here's also $20,000 for your sick mom. This is from Jesus for the sick.
I was kind of hoping
Sick
that
money.
guy was going to be coming along with their on their adventures, because he used the term like, this is a rescue mission. He's like, oh, it's a rescue mission. So I thought he was going to be one of the boys like coming along for the ride, but
He
I
just
guess
shows up in like a full tactical gear.
Yeah.
And like immediately when they see Kevin, he just shoots him in the head on accident.
He says a rifle in the shape of a cross.
Oh God, I wish I could remember the in King of the Hill. They always watch that Spanish telenovela with the priest who always kills people and then has some catchphrase. I can't remember what it is, but anyways, fuck. I just ruined that whole thing. Oh God.
I learned a really fun Spanish phrase 2 weeks ago. Santos pedos, which means holy farts.
Oh yeah, yes.
It's my new favorite catchphrase.
Good. Yeah, those T-shirts are up.
That night, I started playing Dark Souls again, and I forgot I had some characters already made, and I had totally forgotten that's what that word meant. But I had a character. I made a pyromancer named Pedos de Fuego, which is farts of fire.
Good shit. So yeah, that obviously Laurie shows up to kind of ruin all of that.
I mean, there's a rather big moment at the beginning of this episode that just makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I just don't know if is that even going to come into play? Like, it seems like a weird restriction to have. I guess it's just so that they can't get back to America in time.
I think it's that. I think it's also, I think it's an attempt to also kind of build the idea that we're building to something bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That there's like, it's not just whatever's in the fucking water at Miracle that's causing all this weird shit to happen in the world. Like there's something bigger going on, I guess. But yeah. That is the most like unfiltered dong I've seen in a TV show, I think.
Yeah. There was that one in Game of Thrones. I don't know if that was real, though. It was like close up, and he's like, there's a war on my dick.
I honestly, I don't remember that.
Oh, it was the entire screen.
I know. I wonder if I was taking notes during that time. That's the bad thing about doing a podcast, like, especially when I was taking notes. I don't give a fuck anymore. But like, back when I was taking notes for Game of Thrones, I was trying to remember everything. I probably missed the wart dick.
But yeah, no, that was definitely
get slow motion running down a hallway. Just, yeah.
It was definitely like a sequence that I was like, man, I am uncomfortable, but also very intrigued. What is happening?
Yeah. Yeah. It was very good.
It was like that Metal Gear Solid 2 level where you're running around naked.
Yeah. That one I was less like uncomfortable. I was just in it. I was just stoked about it. I just love that Metal Gear Solid.
I think Ocean's 12 might have benefited from a scene like this. You know the dance
That's
scene?
the best secret.
Add it to the list. We've got a huge whiteboard full of things that fix Ocean's 12. Gotta
I
add.
have no idea why that popped into my head. I'm just that dance scene where he's dancing across through the lasers. Like, how much more heightened stakes would there have been if he was naked during that?
There's just a moment where his pubic hair gets singed.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's how those lasers work. They're high powered enough to.
It wasn't just an
God.
alarm system. This is like Resident Evil lasers that would have sliced it off had he been
It
in
wasn't until I was saying that out loud that was like, that's what those fucking lasers do. Anyways. Go ahead.
What I need
Yes.
from this conversation now is the top 10 non-sexual nudity scenes in TV and film.
Oh, God.
I don't need them right off the bat. I just need them at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, just throw them out when you think of
there.
them.
That's the rest of the podcast. Here we go.
Tangent time.
Now, would you say non-sexual was I didn't have a sexual reaction to it, or
No, because I don't know what that is for you. You would have to give us a dissertation on what gets you aroused in film and TV.
oh, trust me, we don't have the time. I love this art form more than anything.
I mean, for you, it's like, you know, good cinematography, certain one shots, give you an erection. This is one shot, better not go any longer. Whew.
You remember that? You remember that whole section in Tree of Life where they're on the salt flats? Woo!
Oh, man.
Oh man, yeah.
Anyway, this man launches a nuclear warhead. And
Yeah. Just into the ocean somewhere, somewhere in the South Pacific. Great musical, by the way. I was hoping that that's what that was alluding to. Maybe Damon Lindelof hates South Pacific.
fucking nuke it.
But yeah, what a way to start this episode off. And then yeah, and then immediately comes to me and be like, fuck, I can't fly anywhere. Terrorists are all around. So yeah, I mean, I think that there are moments with Matt in this episode I really like. But I think you guys have kind of already mentioned there's like certain things that feel a little unearned. But I also think with the Matt episodes, we get at least the most definitive like ideas about religion, or I guess they don't obscure any of the metaphor in Matt's episodes, because it's like he loves God, he fucking thinks he's Job. Yeah. So and so there's some of that I really like. And as contrived as this episode may be, where they have to land the plane on Tasmania.
Yep.
Okay. I was about to say Tanzania. I was like, that's a
different
much
continent.
longer boat trip to Australia. But how many... I mean, I know the answer for myself. Would you guys join a sex cult based on just a lion who fucks real good?
Oh, I thought you were putting us in like Matt's shoes of like, would you go on
Would you fuck a lion?
No. Oh, so would I join a sex cult based on a lion? No. If it was like
The MGM lion?
the
The cowardly lion?
Cecil the lion.
Oh, God.
if it was like
Saddest sex cult in the world.
a sex cult like based on I don't know.
Dragon Ball Z.
Okay, yeah. If you're like, there's this like, I don't want. How do I? Non-tentacle porn anime sex cult. I'm going to retract this statement.
I mean, I'm going to
Look,
be honest.
as long as they're serving really good cheesesteaks, I'll join.
I'm going to be honest. Since I mentioned Dragon Ball Z sex cult, all I'm thinking are Dragon Ball Z puns that you could use at the point of climax. And there's more than you might think. I've already got like 5 or 6. Anyways.
Destructo disc.
Kamehameha! Yeah. All right. They get on this lion. I mean, that's the thing is like, I guess that's the bigger thing is I'm like, anyone who is joining a sex cult, it's not people like us. It's like, it's people who have so much goddamn money. They just literally have they've run out of imagination of things to do with it. So like, yeah, I'm going to join this lion group where we all just fuck each other. And once a year we rent out an entire boat.
Yeah. I mean, what is it about like sex cult people who like to make it like almost a religious experience? Like there's like masks and ceremonies and
I mean, we are just revealing more about our religious experience.
But also secret agents.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like you have a password at the door. There's like rules of like, you know, don't say the television show name before midnight. Who was this lion a real lion in real life?
Oh, I don't know.
Frasier?
I mean, I would assume that song is like.
And if that's the case,
I didn't look that up, but
they probably named that lion after the fucking TV show.
Probably because they're like, who fucks more than anyone else?
Frasier.
Tossed salad and scrambled eggs.
Oh God,
No.
Gwen really holds this podcast down when she's here. I think.
I mean, this episode's about a lion sex cult for the most of it. What are we supposed to talk about?
So
I do love the just, you know, if God exists, he's on a boat with lion sex cultists.
yes,
That's pretty. It's poetic.
let's talk about God now that we've got the lion sex out of the way for now.
Just one quick comment about the lion sex. So this is actually one of the things that made me have a little bit of sort of some conflicting feelings about this episode. It felt the setting of this, like we're on a boat, whatever, like God is on a boat. Okay, cool. The drive, the eventual point that we get to with Matt having a conversation with God, so to speak, like that's fine. I don't have any issues with that. But the actual like sex cult stuff, like it felt. I'm not prudish when it comes to this kind of stuff, but it just felt like I don't know, like
HBO-ish?
HBO trying
Yeah.
to be HBO, and it like I don't know, like the whole thing with like with Matt saying Frasier and then like having to like impregnate a dead lion or whatever that was, like it's just like, and the weirdness, and I don't know, like it just felt like somebody like the writer's room got together and like, what can we do to make this super weird? I don't know. I was having a hard time finding like a purpose, or I don't know. It just didn't feel organic to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think that you know, we've already talked about the nuclear launch contrivance and like also the idea that there needs to be a sex cult on this boat. I honestly think you can have a really fucking interesting episode about Matt confronting a god man on a boat without any of that. I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I think you're totally right. So let's talk about God. I mean, he fits most of the things that I have always known about God. God loves Louis L'Amour. I mean, that's the main thing, I guess.
God has an Australian
God
accent.
has an Australian accent.
He's not very good at the decathlon.
Yes, yeah.
Or
Better-
wasn't. Okay.
Better than most.
Comparatively within his field,
Sure.
he was not the best.
Yeah.
I was hoping they'd find that guy he threw off because I was pretty sure it was going to be Jonah. Like, so you're not the first fucker that's thrown off a boat.
Well, a fishing boat did find him. They didn't say they found a body. They didn't say
That wasn't a whale.
they didn't say it wasn't in a whale that they were poaching.
Oh, man.
So did you guys recognize God?
Yeah.
Okay. From the I don't even know what to call it.
The bridge.
Bridge, yeah, the
Bridge to
hotel
Terabithia.
world.
That was him then.
Yes.
That was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gwen actually brought that up. She's like, "Is that the guy from the other place?" And I wasn't sure.
This
Yeah.
is what. So this made me curious. I'm like, I mean, unless we can go back in other episodes, that there's something I totally could have missed of all those things like that he had on his car and the guy mentioned about his past life. Did Kevin ever, like, was there a TV on in the background that fucking said the Olympic winner was bronze? Was there anything like that? And if not, I feel like that's like, that guy was God.
So here's the thing. I am trying to remember what scene it's in, but at some point the TV is on and they mention that someone has risen from the dead in Australia. So this was a story that like hit national news.
Oh, okay.
But it's like very backgrounded. You know what I mean? And it's also brought up because what's his face, the who lives in the tower in Miracle, he is sending a letter to David Burton.
Oh.
In Australia for whatever reason. We don't know. But so there are these little snippets.
Did Kevin see that envelope?
I don't know if he saw the envelope. Michael did.
Michael mailed it, right?
But yeah, I don't know. And that's I wish I could remember what scene the TV, like the news was on, because that might say that. But yeah, so I think that there's still like that throws maybe enough doubt into that I don't know. But yeah, so God kills a guy. God denies killing a guy. Story as old as time. And I don't know. What are you guys' kind of impressions of their interactions?
I mean, that's one of the moments that it was like, it wasn't just because of the production thing. It makes it feel a little unearned, where you have this reckoning between Matt and God in this sort of weird metaphor for a prayer of him tying him to a chair.
I always imagined in my mind when I knelt down to pray, what I was doing was binding God.
Listen to me.
Swear to you. I swear to you. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, I think that like while I was watching, like this moment's really great with an asterisk, I guess. Like I feel like Matt's character, we didn't quite have enough to get to that breaking point of the, hey, God, fuck you, I've done everything, where's your end of the bargain type of thing. And I didn't quite feel like we got to that point with him, but totally understandable why. So I liked the moment. I think overall I would say it was a really great moment. And it's also a really great choice of Matt kind of deciding whether or not that guy is supernatural or not. Matt kind of deciding that he isn't at the end and just kind of accepting everything and moving forward and having it kind of be that moment for him to move on.
I will say the closing line of this episode, one of my favorites in the entire show, just of Matt turning around and looking at the camera, like, that's the guy I was telling you about, as he's getting mauled by a lion, and then you just hear the gunshots.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty dope. I think it's a cool fucking ending to that.
those cops waited a long time to shoot the lion.
Yeah. Well, you know,
I think
Rest in
Harambe
peace,
had
Harambe.
just happened.
Dicks out. Back to the sex cult thing.
Harambe sex cult.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That already exists, basically. Go on the internet.
That's called Reddit.
Dude, Harambe and what was the new lion's name? The Descendant. They named the Descendant. They say his name?
Oh, in this episode? I don't remember.
Well, I guess fuck that guy. Yeah, Frasier and Harambe are my gay animal power couple that I'm shipping.
You can see that fan art on our Instagram.
I'll get to work on it. Who's bottom?
Frasier, for sure. Great.
I mean, I think we covered it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's the thing with this episode too. Is like so much is focused on that sex cult.
Yeah,
that it's like, okay, guess we'll use our runtime this way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only other like big component of this episode is Matt and Laurie's like kind of back and forth bullshit that kind of builds into stuff that happens in the next episode. But yeah, I think that it's interesting to this season. And I think this is another thing we may be able to attribute to the production stuff. But like the fact that Michael is such a small character, he's just such a background character in this episode. And like the Garvey kids are just absent. Like,
Yeah. I mean, at least that's a 50% blessing.
yeah. I mean, we did get a healthy dose of Tommy in the first episode.
Yeah, he gave a nice farewell, don't forget me. A metaphorical don't forget me lighter to all of us right at the end there.
But yeah, I mean, we have not seen Jill. I mean, we saw Jill for literally a scene. And
It's just a metaphor for, I mean, she went off to college, right? So it's like,
yeah.
how many of us left home and never just don't go back, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Call your parents.
This podcast is all over the fucking map. But yeah, I mean, I think that there are some things that leave me like thinking like, oh man, what if there was a little more of this show? And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Like,
Yeah, because you wonder like how much more, like, this is such, there's so much that has been cut back, and you wonder like what, like, I don't know, like what do you add back in?
yeah.
What makes
And-
it better by coming back? I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's the thing that I appreciate about this season, and we'll talk about for sure with the next two episodes, is they take some swings. They really shoot for the stars in a few of these episodes. And I admire that for sure. They definitely don't play it too safe with a lot of the things that they are doing this season, and I can respect that.
Something like that I appreciate about this is that it does feel like there's finality to moments that are occurring throughout the season, whereas like something on Netflix or whatever that we're watching, like they don't know if they're going to get funding for another season or they're going to be cut or whatever, but there's always like these teases, and there's just not conclusions to things, whereas this feels like, yeah, we're missing some of the like fleshed out story that we might want, or characters making decisions that we don't feel like are entirely earned. But at the same time, like I feel like, I mean, there could be a lot that happens in the last two episodes, but I feel like I'm going to come away from this and be like okay with it being over.
Sure.
I mean, the next episode, episode 6, to me, I was telling Katie, like halfway through, I was like, this feels like the last episode. Like, this feels like if this was just a half hour longer, we could wrap this up.
Sure.
Like, yeah. Was it? Are they going to pull?
Joke's on you guys. It's over.
Well,
it ended.
Well, like I was going to
Last two episodes are just Mad World
I was
playing
gonna
on repeat for an hour.
Oh, fuck, no. I was gonna say it's those last 3 episodes of Evangelion where you expect to get one thing, and it's like
Yeah.
anything you were hoping, there's not. So I wonder if they do that. That's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Weird. Watches they just skip like a whole 3 years from this episode.
We did get old Nora teased already.
Yeah, I
right?
know.
Which is weird because she's supposed to be gone, right?
But yeah, that's why I was like, okay, one of two things. Either she doesn't go in the machine, or the machine is a time machine. Like, I guess it could be a cloning machine.
It's funny because you said that after looking at me as if my look was suggesting that it might have been
I think subconsciously that look was going back to the prestige machine, because that's supposed to be a time machine, right? Isn't it?
The Prestige?
Or I can't
This
remember.
is cloning.
No, because they find out it clones people
Right.
on accident, right? Oh, it's supposed to be a teleporting machine.
Yes.
Not a time machine. Yeah, okay. Never mind.
Yes?
Yeah, because he's
Yes.
like, I want to be teleported to the other door.
Yeah.
Like Hugh Jackman. No, I mean, fucking Christian Bale. And
Don't we all? Wouldn't we all love to be teleported to the other door?
and David Bowie's like, I'll see what I can do. Best I can do is a cloning machine.
I don't know.
I really feel like the Prestige is when like the Nikola Tesla jerk off started around our society, which to be fair, sure.
Let's jerk him
But it was
off.
weird that it just ramped up. Everyone's like, Thomas Edison, fuck you.
Yeah, they're like,
Nikola
did David
Tesla.
Bowie ever play Thomas Edison? I don't think so.
Nikola Tesla's big.
I bet that Paul Giamatti will play Thomas Edison at some point, and fuck him.
What show are we watching again? Anyway, the
Okay,
Prestige is
so
directed by
Twin
Christopher
Peaks
Nolan.
season 3. Okay. Yeah, let's talk about Laurie,
Let's do it.
because that's what the next episode is that we're talking about. Yeah, they got Laundry Lady back. We have we've got just, enough points on her line to connect the dots into a sort of story. Her baby is sad. We just get backstory on that first day, which is everyone was really, hoping for. I wanted to know what the fuck was wrong with that baby. Why was it so upset? Was it because the Atlanta Braves lost? Or something else? What else could it be? Yeah, so that, and she is, I will say, I've seen a few therapists in my time, and I have wanted to say what she said to them and never done it. And the idea, and it also kind of confirmed me good, because then immediately after that, Laurie tries to kill herself or something. And so, like, I was
Reverse psychology.
Yeah. I was like, I can't tell if this show, like, sorry, reverse psychology has so many layers to that fucking. This is the literal Uno reverse of psychology in that.
Kill you.
But yeah, this show either loves psychologists or hates them. Like, it's, I don't know.
Or they just don't know how they work at all.
Yeah. Which Laurie certainly doesn't seem to.
God.
We have not. I mean, I will say, I do wish at some point we got some kind of psychology win for her, because it just makes it feel like
She's the
everything we
worst.
see is bad. Yeah.
I mean,
Which I don't want to believe.
some of the
about
early
John.
stuff with Patty might you could maybe consider
Maybe, yeah.
a win.
I mean, she then did, like,
I mean,
when the time came, she was like, I need to go ask her for the answers.
yeah, but I feel like that's due to a like cataclysmic event that
Sure.
no one could have foreseen coming.
Yeah, that's fair.
So like up until that point, at least, I feel like that was a win with Patty. I could be wrong. They left poop on his doorstep.
Yeah.
That's a win. That's a good
That's a win.
psychology move.
Fuck you,
I left poop on somebody's doorstep. Makes you feel better.
So yeah, we have kind of these flashbacks, and then another layer of flashbacks in this episode that's flashing back to after the last episode, but before the current time of the current episode, where she is with Nora and Matt. And man, Nora sucks. Like, just fucking sucks in some of the worst ways in this episode. That fight over the lighter is like one of those times that I felt uncomfortable, because I'm like, I'm watching grown people fight over something very stupid. Why are grown people fighting? Like, I don't know.
There was one time when I was like 14, 13 maybe a little younger. I'll say I was younger because then it makes it not like I'm not as culpable for my actions. But I was hanging out with one of my buddies and he was pissing me off, and he was letting me ride his bike because it had pegs on the back, and I was like, "This is super cool." Yeah, he was just making me mad by saying stupid shit, and so he like said I need to go, and I just like took off on his bike because I was pissed off at him, and he was like yelling at me, "Give me back my bike!" And that Nora was like,
Yeah, that feels like this scene for sure.
I'm Nora in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I do feel like as I'm getting older, though, I'm like I'm approaching this horrible understanding of why adults fight each other. It's like it's something to make you feel something. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh God, I need to do more or less drugs. I don't know. I don't
all
know.
about power dynamics, man. Everyone feels powerless in their own life, and people deal with that differently. I play Dark Souls. Other people steal people's shit.
Yeah.
Other people kill people.
Uh-huh.
Other people cheat on people. I think I'm doing okay.
I'm trying to figure out which one of those sounds the most appealing to me as a human being.
Sometimes I think I'm doing shitty, and then I realize that. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so I guess what are your guys' like big moments in this episode or things that you either liked or thought were dumb?
I thought the beach ball moment was dumb. I couldn't get behind that speech. I was like, it wants me to feel something here. I really don't. I'm not even sure if I fully understand the metaphor.
Yeah. That's what I thought, because I thought like maybe
I could
Nora
take some stabs, but
was like trying to like grapple with, is she the security guard? Like, is she gonna break up? Is that what it was trying to say? Is like she thought of herself as the person that was like taking away this joy from, or like purpose, or
was she just bitching about the two science ladies not letting her disappear, which seems very like not the feeling we should like it that was presented, like with the music and everything and the build up. But then I was like, oh, is it supposed to be like a commentary on like heads of religious organizations and rules? Like it didn't. Yeah, it's so nebulous. And do you have any better reads on it?
Well, I will say this is this speech feels like a very popular trope right now, and I think it to me it's like a there isn't a deeper, it's just like I'm really sad and I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like there's like a validity to that. I think that it's an interesting tool to use in your script for a character when it comes down to it. And like, I think, and we'll talk about this more in the next couple episodes, obviously, there's like some finality to things. But the idea, I think that, especially in a show that pursues or presents those metaphors so often, to have a moment that is stripped away, a personal story, and is just like, this person's really sad about everything. And like, I think, and I talked about that being a trope earlier. I do think in the last 10 years, we've gotten so many more of those, especially in like indie films and stuff, where it's these anecdotes that are not connected to anything, that are just extremely personal to the character. And I think that's what they're there for, is like, this character has this really personal story that you probably don't understand, and they're sad about it, or like whatever, you know? So I don't know. I personally, I don't feel that there's a bigger metaphor there. But
I feel like the ones I've seen, though, do it a lot better.
Yeah.
Because it may be disconnected or specific, but it does connect thematically to what is happening with the character.
Sure.
At least the ones I've seen. And Nora's doesn't feel like that. Like,
yeah.
Especially that she's telling Lori this.
Yeah.
That even makes it worse, in my opinion, because maybe another character, this can maybe it was just her and Matt, but she's telling Lori, and it's like,
yeah.
Why do people gotta take the beach ball, man? It's like, really?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Well, and I think I should say, like, it being a trope does not make it either good or bad to use. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's, I don't know. I think it's a weird moment. Let's talk about Judas Lori and her role in The Last Supper. Let's talk about suicide. The other thing that we haven't talked about is, and I don't know if you guys are skipping the intro at this point,
No,
but there's
music.
new songs every episode, and we haven't. I was going to find a list.
Is that what it was? 100 Suicide?
Yeah. This episode is bookended by that idea. It is brought up by a couple other characters in this episode. I mean, Nora shares that about scuba diving on the stakeout, and we end with Lori going scuba diving after talking to her kids. Not because she talked to her kids, I should say. That's not like that. But
Oh shit, it's Tommy. I
she was
gotta kill myself.
I didn't want to go there. But yeah, like this weird, like her, like being like, "Yeah, I'm Judas. I'm your fucking Judas. Deal with it." And then Michael being like, "Judas fucking killed himself," and her being like, "Really? Maybe there is a God, because I'm also gonna do that." Like I don't know. It's just I think I do think that Last Supper like scene is kind of interesting. I think it's weird and goofy, and
I feel like it could have been better if they didn't like call it out so damn much.
Yeah.
In that scene.
But also, I mean, look at the people at that table. You know they're fucking just loving the fact.
Matt's not even there. And I feel like that's a travesty.
Well, yeah, he doesn't like God anymore. So he's like, this is like I've still got many suppers after this.
I'm trying to think what other thematically suicidal moments in this this show. Like, what else? What other major?
I mean, I think you could look at maybe the stuff with Nora in the first season, not suicidal, but the stuff with the hookers and the gun.
Yeah.
You know, there's always a chance Bulletproof Vest isn't gonna work.
That Kevin's bag thing.
I guess like
Kevin's bag thing.
Yeah, and then Patty obviously killed herself. Yeah, I'm just curious, like, what your guys' thoughts are about how this show has treated suicide as whether or not, like, do you feel like it's cast any sort of a judgment, like, or is it just like exploring kind of the concept or ideas? Because I don't think that there has been any sort of like suicide is good, suicide is bad. Like I don't think that it's done that. And whereas like with like religion in general, I feel like the show is like religion is crazy. It doesn't make any sense. That's my takeaway at least. But with like the suicide theme, yeah, I don't feel like it's really made a judgment call there for anything.
I think in most cases in this show, suicide is used as a tool to either explore someone's relationship to their own life, like their own emotional state or something like that. So I don't know. I don't think that we get anything that casts a judgment on either side for suicide.
Yeah, it's just it's an interesting thing to explore in this world too, where so many people are dealing with emotions and feelings that presumably are more heightened or different than what. Well, I mean, they're the same things in what we're dealing with now. That's kind of like the draw of the show. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. It was just some thoughts that I had.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting. I think it's well, and I think even like in this episode, you have this. I mean, what Nora's going to do is that just.
Yeah,
is that her? You know, is
There's
that
a joke about
her
is
now,
it a suicide box or whatever?
Right.
I think that's Lori's comment about it. I think or Matt. I don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think it's interesting. Yeah, well, again,
I mean, technically, Kevin commits suicide too.
Yeah,
yeah. He just
and he's going to do it again.
Yeah,
like that's
Which okay. Let's talk about everyone's motivations for Kevin. Because I think...
Wait, do you mean Kevin, the eternal postman?
Yeah.
Here's your letter from your mom.
I think...
Your dad says hi.
I think I'm a little bummed by Grace's motivations. Like,
just to, like, get a message to her kids?
Which,
like,
I mean, yeah, I understand she wants... It's not about the shoes. It's about the closure and everything. But, like... You're seeking out Jesus and potentially killing him without his consent to just pass a message like that. I don't know. That seems very. I don't know. I was hoping she had some like Kevin Senior level, like either craziness or insight on things.
Maybe she was like the first Kevin that she killed was just like a test run. Like if he survives, then we can kill him again and actually tell him what we wanted to. We like pass the message along. So we're just gonna use him as
that
like
first
a
Kevin
messenger.
she didn't tell the message to at first. So it's
No,
like
I'm
you
just
have
testing
to
it out.
kill him again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, something interesting though is the I don't know if this has any connection, but the first time he goes to the hotel, or is it the second time? I can't remember. The way he gets out is singing, and he's supposed to get that song from Christopher there.
Yeah.
Which I think might be connected somehow. I don't know. But yeah, it's. But yeah, I feel like. I mean, I like Kevin Senior's motivations there because it's very much I need something from there brought back here.
Yeah. So I can save the world.
Yeah, like that feels cool, or at least enjoyable and entertaining. Grace's is weird, and John's is interesting because I think there's a moment in this episode that I felt honestly the most connected to out of this whole show was John's little bit like, tell me we've gone too far, and like the problem is like if his experience is false, that makes mine false, right?
Yeah.
Like all the other things in the show have either felt like caricatures of like crazy Christians I've been completely unrelated to in my life, or extreme versions of one way or the other of like, but that one to me felt the most personal of like, fuck, that's me. I was definitely guilty of some of that. So it's like, and not in just that way too. It honestly is like a very human thing that I felt very emotionally connected to that little bit there.
I do think John's character in this season is like one of the maybe bigger losses because he's changed so much since we see him before this season to where he's at now. And, we don't really get a whole lot. It's just like, he's like, yeah, I'm a quiet God man now.
Yeah.
Now I do the handprint thing. I don't know. That's interesting. But yeah, I think the Lori Kevin conversation gives that relationship some closure. It's obviously, I feel like their relationship is one of the more like convoluted and like not in a bad way. I just think it's because of the nature of what their relationship is as divorced people, and then like, and now we live next door to each other, you know, and like, and I call you when I'm going crazy. It is interesting, and I think that I like that conversation between them at the end. Partially because it feels like another one of those moments that you were mentioning, this kind of like finality and like closure to a lot of that. Even if the closure is just being like, yeah, this is still really fucked up, you know?
Yeah.
And they talk about the baby, which is like a really like kind of moment when she asked him if he ever wanted a baby, and he's like no, and she's like, yeah, me neither. Like it's just, it feels like this release of like these things they've been holding on to for a long time, and I like that.
And she knows, right, that he cheated on her.
I don't know,
because she keeps saying he was a great husband multiple times in this series.
Sure.
And I'm like, would you say that if that happened? Especially, I mean, would she say that with what we've seen of their marriage? I guess that's like,
yeah.
'cause
I mean, we've seen very little, to be fair.
yeah. I mean, what we have seen hasn't been the most wholesome.
Yeah. It depends on if you take that episode title at face value, which is the Garveys at their best. Is this the best the Garveys ever were?
Yeah. I mean, they do talk about how like him taking in a kid that wasn't his, but
Sure.
it's just like, which is great, but it's like I don't know. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just weird having that be such a central point to season 1 that it's weird that that's how she views it and tells people, I guess.
Well, and we also have, I mean, Lori talks when they bring up Evie on the boat, like she explains, she's like, I was trying to protect you. And maybe that's what she does with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe that's what that is. I don't know. But yeah, it definitely is like their relationship was weird. He cheated on her, their baby disappeared on the, and then she joined a cult and was just gone for a while. And then he pulled her out of a fire, pulled their daughter out of a flaming house. I don't know. It's just, there's a lot there. So
Which
yeah, I don't know.
I'm hoping, I think I've brought up this theory before. Everyone's going to come back exactly where they were.
Okay, wait, in time and space. So
she is going to be underwater scuba diving. I was expecting it. I was expecting to hear like a cry or something because like the baby's back in the
God.
and
Oh my God.
this woman's all of a sudden just on Garvey's penis, like appears there.
On the seesaw as they're drowning him underwater.
Just immediately dies again.
Yeah. The baby, laundry woman's baby's just back in the laundry parking lot.
Nora's kids just show up in their kitchen and there's just a whole MIT class happening there. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens in this 7 years after the departure. I don't know. Any other thoughts with Lori? I guess with her ending, how did you guys feel about that final scene in this episode?
I mean, there's no death shown, so it's ambiguous as to whether or not she actually does it.
Sure.
And obviously Jill calls her and there's this moment of like mother-daughter relationship stuff. So is she actually going to go through with it? I think that she does. I think that I felt like it was pretty clear that she was going through with it. She's going to kill herself. Yeah. Gwen brought up after the episode, like, we didn't see it, so we don't know for sure.
We didn't see it. And the guy's like, there's a storm rolling in, which is the storm that Kevin's referencing, I'm sure. So it's like, is that going to foil her plans, or is it going to flood and we're going to see Lori's body float by in the submarine window they build in the Ark?
Oh man, what a world. Okay, interesting. Well, I don't know. Any other thoughts on these episodes?
I think that's it.
I remember the first time watching this, going into these episodes, being like, well, there's 4 episodes left. Man, it's crazy shit's gonna happen. And I watched these like nothing. I mean, yeah. I mean, I do like these episodes. Like I said, I think there are moments in the Matt episode that I think are like among some of my favorite moments from the show. Couched in a lot of other shit. And I think there's some great moments in the Laurie episode as well. I think that with what they're given, with the time that they're given in this season, for them to err on the side of character moments and trying to make good on some of those is the right side to fall on for me personally as a viewer. So anyways, we will be back with the final 2 episodes of this show on our next episode 7 and 8 of season 3. And then we'll be moving on to something else. But if you want to reach out to us at all, you can email us at rewatchersonthepod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram or Twitter at rewatcherspod. And we will be back in just a bit with some recommendations. Welcome back to the recommendation section of the podcast, and we are here to talk about some other things we've been watching, playing, reading, listening to, all that good shit. Tyler, what did you have for us?
Well, I am playing a lot of Street Fighter V,
All right, Justin.
which I didn't think I'd ever be saying. Partly because my son loves it now.
Okay.
So I had to print off coloring pages today of Street Fighter characters to take to his grandma's, and I had to be very careful which ones I printed off.
What color are Chun-Li's beautiful, monstrous thighs?
Dude. But yeah, I'm not good at it, but I'm having fun. It's free on PlayStation Plus, so if you got it, you can just try it for free. They do it is kind of a scummy game where it's like it wants all your money in other ways.
Sure.
But also kind of somewhat, I mean, I wouldn't say generous. You can buy some of the stuff with like points you earn in the game just by playing, but you have to play a lot.
Sure. Is this have you played Street Fighter before? Are you like
I want to say I tried 4 for like a day.
Oh, okay.
But I don't remember it very well.
Okay.
I think a part of me too of why I'm playing it is that was one of my first video game experiences was playing Street Fighter 2 at my friend's house. Like my family pretty anti video games, but for some reason let us have a Game Boy. I guess that didn't count.
Yeah, no.
So
Those
like
are games for boys.
other than the original Game Boy, the big giant brick that took like 6 double A batteries.
Yeah.
I was going to my friend's house playing Super Nintendo, and Street Fighter 2 was one of the ones we played. And yeah, so I've got a lot of nostalgia attached to it. So it's hard to say whether that I'm enjoying it, but it's a fighting game. You know what you're getting.
Yeah.
But I think it's a decent one. Anyway, the only other thing I did this week is I saw The Green Knight, which stars Dave Patel and that Vikander woman. And
Laura Croft.
yeah. Who has a very hit and miss career so far. Yeah, it's here's the thing. It's a surrealistic telling of a poem by who no one knows who wrote it.
Jesus.
About one of Jesus wrote it. Another thing he just loved to like just fanfic of his own creations.
Make sure you put it in my book.
But yeah, it's about they say his name pretty weird. I'm pretty sure I've always pronounced it Gawain. They pronounce it Gawain. Gawain. Gawan. I don't know. But yeah, it's like a really weird, surrealistic, dark fantasy. And like that's exactly what I want in my life, and I was super stoked for the trailer and everything. And it's good. I highly recommend it. If you have any interest in it whatsoever, go see it because it's fascinating. It does a good job of not insulting the viewer at all. Like, nowhere does it tell you, I'm pretty sure that, like, this guy's King Arthur. This guy's Merlin. This is the round table of all the knights. Like, it's just...
So you're just left to decide, like, that guy's got the pointiest hat. So he's Merlin?
Well, you know who the king is, and there's stuff...
I guess the king has the pointiest hat.
There's stuff to tell you, like, who
sure
indicate that this guy is magical and he's old. Like but so I was familiar with the source material going into it. It's really short, so they did take a lot of liberties with things, particularly in the second act, which I thought were pretty good choices. They changed the ending a bit. It's still saying the same thing in a very different way, and I liked it. There's some things. There's one change to it in particular that I'm like, that's actually right from the beginning, and I didn't realize who this character was supposed to be in the mythology. For some reason, I didn't make the connection I should have. But then they make a pretty big, like, canonically that is not in the mythology. I guess if that makes sense. Like even the whole Arthurian mythology, that is false. Like there's a relationship between two characters. It's like no, that's not a thing. So that kind of threw me for a loop, and has still got me kind of scratching my head of what was all going on type of thing. But beautifully shot. It's a beautiful movie, and considering like I wouldn't say it's a low budget movie, but it's lower for something of this scale. So that shows a tiny bit. But yeah, overall, really fascinating. Very different type of movie. Directed by the same guy who did Ghost Story. take that for what it's worth, I guess, because Ghost Story for me is not as good as I wanted it to be.
Sure.
But I still enjoyed it, found it interesting.
Yeah. I we were talking about this briefly, and I watched Ghost Story this week, mostly just because I wanted to watch that before I went and saw this movie, just because I'm a dumbass. But I did watching it, like the scenes that you already showed me. I was like my favorite part of this movie. It was just a subtitled ghost wave.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
So yeah, it's a very different film. This is going to be a weird comparison that might throw expectations off. So, A Knight's Tale is something that, like, in this A Knight's Tale was this, like, I feel like the production value in it is really strong, and I feel they do a good job making this world feel real, but also it's like this almost cartoony genre twist type of thing.
Sure.
So is this, but in a completely different genre direction, I should say. So I'm probably the only person on Earth that parallel, because it's probably a really bad take. But yeah, I don't know. I want everyone to see it so we can talk about it more, because it was, I really enjoyed it, even though I probably would have, if I was directing it, I would have probably made a few different choices. The editing pace is really bizarre, but also kind of fun that way. I don't know. I'm done.
Have I recommended the movie A Field in England to you yet?
No.
I'm gonna go see A Green Knight, but just based on how you're talking about it, I'm like, I wonder if you'd love or hate A Field in England, because it's like a very much like a period piece that doubles down on the surrealism and then fucking triples down on it in a way that is like, I was watching, I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck is happening?
I don't feel like I ever got to that point in The Green Knight.
Okay.
It wasn't like, I mean, the one I always use is 2001: A Space Odyssey, that third act.
Okay,
Nothing on that level.
Okay.
It all feels very like mythology folklore, like, oh, this person's missing their head, like that type of
Sure. Okay.
that type of stuff. Like
Okay.
that's what I really enjoyed about the movie, to be honest. Like the hero's journey is so like clear, and I don't know how to explain that. Like it's almost like they're holding up a sign, like, this is the meeting with the goddess, like, and stuff like that, like, which I love. So,
Yeah. I do too. Great. Austin, what did you have for us?
Yeah. So I started playing a game a couple days ago that was just released on Steam just a couple of weeks ago, I think, or recently. It's called Mini Motorways, and
This is on my list for recommendations as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just started playing this.
cool.
just find the shit.
Well, I will say this is I played a ton of Mini Metro, which is their previous game.
Wait, is this like a sim game?
Kind of traffic sim,
Yeah,
sort of.
but not like a. Is there a different world for hard sims versus soft sims?
Yeah. It's there. Okay,
This is as much like just an exploration of just making fucking incredible like UI and like world. Like it's a very minimalist looking game. That I feel like so much work went into just designing this readable and incredibly understandable interface where you're building these roads and highways between destinations. Anyways, sorry, I don't mean to hijack this, but
no, that's fine.
It's really cool.
So like the purpose of the game, so you're thrown into a map that is based on a real life location, and the whole purpose of the game is to connect houses with factories. I don't know what to call them. Like a place where the person that lives at the house is supposed to go to another location. Like there's a little pin that shows up on a larger building, and you have to connect that with a road that you build. And you have like limited road tiles, so there's like this road management, like efficiency that's built into it. And then like every week of game time that passes, you get unlocks that give you like, you can choose between, am I going to take a roundabout and some extra road tiles, or am I going to take like a motorway, which is like a highway, and some extra road tiles? And so like there's this efficiency built into it, because like as the game progresses, more houses and more factories spawn on the map, and in different colors as well. So you have to match, like, I gotta get the red houses connected to the red factories, I gotta get the yellow to the yellow. But if I all route them through the same road, then there's going to be traffic problems. So how do I manage my roads so that people can get where they need to go efficiently. And if they don't get there in time, then there's like a timer that starts going up on the buildings. And once the timer's up all the way, then you die.
So you're like a pro at this then, because you do this for a living.
Yeah, because I do this for a living. No.
You build roads.
You should take this to like your next performance review and be like, I'm
you
clearly
say mediocre.
kicking ass.
I say 20th on the world leaderboard.
Yeah, it's I recommend it. It's the aesthetic is very chill, minimalistic, like you said. It's
And then it gets fucking intense.
yes, yeah, and like as you play it, like 15 minutes into your game, like there's so much shit happening. I have not been able to get past the 85 to 90 day mark yet in the game. Like
what happens when you lose?
you just start over. Like it's
Yeah,
just
I mean, thematically, like in the world, like
your city shuts down.
Yeah.
the power.
Yeah.
People can't get where they need to go. In
It
time,
just sinks
so,
into the
yeah.
ocean.
Shit.
Yeah. I've been having a lot of fun. I've played like 6 or 7 hours this week. And it like the games are, if you're bad at it like I am, they're pretty quick. So it's fun just to like start one up, see how far you can go, die at 90 days, and start over and see if you can get any better. So
Yeah.
There's because lately for some reason I'd be like, man, I want to play like some sort of sim game, but I feel like I'd be very picky of what I'd want. And so it's like I don't want to try out new ones and take the plunge and pay for like a game I'm not gonna like. So I'm like waiting for the one that everyone's just like, this is the one you should play.
I don't know if this really qualifies as like a sim.
But
game, though.
I
It's
do want a more relaxing experience doing it.
Yeah.
Because I'm really bad at like even Age of Empires. Like people who don't play video games have kicked my ass in Age of Empires before.
This, I wouldn't qualify this as a sim game. I think this is a puzzle game. Like it has, it's a puzzle game. It's like if you were to take, I don't know if you played City Skylines at all, which is like it was another studio that was like, we want a better SimCity game. They haven't made SimCity games in forever, so we're going to make our own. And like, they were a company that I think actually was doing traffic management before they got into game development. And so like the traffic in that game is like super realistic supposedly, and like you get yelled at in the game about how shitty your traffic is in your city, and there's shit flowing down the streets if you don't get like your pipes lined up the right way. It's basically that without all of the shit flowing down the streets. It's just the traffic management part of that game. Yeah.
There's a great City Skylines video of someone who just built this entire reservoir that all of their sewers like routed to, that was on top of a mountain right by this. And once it filled up to the top, they just deleted the thing that was holding it all, and just shit ran down the mountain into their city. It was pretty good. But also they're like professors of like urban design who have demonstrated urban planning principles in city skylines.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they like actually use it to simulate real stuff and principles, which is pretty cool. But
I'd definitely recommend this game. It's just like, I've been kind of craving just something that's like, I don't want anything difficult right now. Like I think I'm saving all of that up for when Elden Ring releases, and then I'll just get all of that out all at once. Like I'm looking for something that is straightforward. I don't have to spend any time running around a map trying to find an objective. Like it's a puzzle, but it's like the objective is straightforward. I know what I need to do, and it's just, I don't know. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm not getting my ass kicked every single time I load into an Apex game. So yeah, I'd recommend it.
yeah. And again, like from a design perspective, I think they're really great games. Because it's just like a white background, and you got to connect the blue houses to the blue factories or stores where they're
So
getting their goods.
do you like this mini roadsters? Is that what's called?
Mini motorways.
Mini motorways versus what was the other one that you?
Mini Metro.
Which is better?
I haven't played Mini Metro, so
I don't
can't
know
say.
yet. I've only like played 3 hours of Mini Motorways, I think. The thing I'm noticing so far is in Mini Metro, once shit started to get crazy, there's also a function where you can just pause everything and you can kind of like plan everything out a little bit more, which I think is, once you get to certain points, you need to pause it, because especially mini motorways, there are times I'd pause to be like, okay, I need to like figure out this roadway, and I'm like, oh, these 5 houses are not connected to anything yet. I also need to make sure that I'm but and doing that in mini motorways is hard because you don't get, if you remove a road, you actually don't get the road tiles back until the road's no longer in use. So if you have a main road that has a ton of cars on it, you're going to have to like delete all those road tiles and then wait for all of the traffic that's currently using it to pass off of it. And then you get those tiles back and then you can use them to like fix what you need to.
Meanwhile, like the problem you've been trying to solve by deleting those
It's
is
just getting worse
already
and worse.
getting worse.
Yeah.
So you've already lost by that time. If you see the problem, then it's already over.
Yeah. Which in Mini Metro, there were times when I had 7 or 8 of these crisscrossing subway lines like designed, and then I was like, oh, this isn't working. I'm gonna literally I'm gonna pause it, I'm gonna scrap all of it, and now I have all these. Now I can completely redesign it. Which was kind of cool. So I don't know why that choice was made, because in Mini Metro you still get like, they still have to like kind of finish their journeys, their destinations. But once that happens, it's just like, like all the old ones are gone and all the new ones are in. But yeah, I honestly, I really like Mini Motorways a lot so far. It's like a little bit, it's just got a couple more layers of like complexity to it than Mini Metro did. But yeah, like I said, the other thing about these games is I'm pretty sure Mini Motorways for the last year has been an exclusive on Apple Arcade.
Yep.
So it's absolutely, these make for great phone games. I played Mini Metro almost entirely on my Switch. And I would honestly just use the touchscreen for most of it to kind of like trace out the lines and everything. So yeah, anyways, and they're cheap. Like you were talking about, like you don't want a huge investment. Like I think Mini Motorways is $10.
It's $10.
And I think Mini Metro is probably $10 too. So, anyways, those games are really good. All right, things I have to recommend this week. I can't remember if I talked about this on the podcast last week. So, College Humor streaming service Dropout, I fucking love, and I've watched so goddamn much of their shows. Fucking game changer on College Humor, so good. And I am currently watching their D&D series, which is like maybe my favorite. I haven't watched a lot of D&D like live plays because some of them I just don't like. Some of them skew on the side of a self-importance about D&D that I really cannot stomach, and then others are just like so jokey that I'm like, this one is like really fucking incredible. Like there's some really like emotional moments, but then you also have a character who constantly fails their perception checks, and like this is the first season of Dimension 20 is the name of their D&D show. The first season is called Fantasy High, and it's basically like a group of high school students go to an adventuring high school, and they basically are presented with the idea of like this high school is just like, yeah, go fuck shit up because you're gonna be adventurers. It's fucking awesome. But anyways, there's this half orc barbarian in the party who was adopted by gnomes and doesn't know who his real dad is, and so he's constantly trying to find out his status. But every time they'll meet a new character and he'll like roll a perception check or an insight check on them and he fails, the DM will always be like, you can't be 100% sure. But looking at this guy in front of you, he seems cool. He seems nice. He might be your dad. And so like the running joke is that every new adult they meet, he asks them if he's their dad, if they're his dad. And it is like the greatest thing. And like and then it all builds. There's just like one point where like he fails another check and there's just like, the DM is like, you're not proud of this. But you're sitting here, you're drumming, you're playing the drums in your band at this party, and the thought crosses your mind: what if you're your own dad? Like, it's just this incredible. It's just all the characters are really great, and it's also this first season starts with like the DM who is fucking amazing, Brennan Lee Mulligan. He's just incredible, and 6 people. A few of whom you can definitely tell have never played D&D. And then by like the 9th or 10th episode, you can just see that they have gotten a much firmer grasp on things. And it's really exciting. It's really great. Check it out. Dimension 20. Very good. I have a couple other video games I played this week too that I wanted to recommend. Last night I just finished a game called The Forgotten City, which is a video game that was just released.
Is that just a mod of Skyrim?
So it is, those guys made their own game. So made a
Is it in the same engine?
no.
Oh, I thought it was.
Maybe
I thought it was
don't
like
know.
have you Endriel? Is that what it's called? Have you seen that
Oh,
one?
I have no idea.
That was just like it's built. It's not related to Skyrim at all.
It might be.
But,
I don't
like,
know.
it's used that engine.
It feels very similar. And I couldn't tell if it was the same engine or if they were just aping parts of that. You know, like entering conversations with people, it does that dumb Skyrim thing. Yeah. And if you try to talk to someone while they're walking, the frame doesn't find them immediately. And then that's, you know, like, but it is, yeah, I don't know if you guys know much about the Forgotten City mod, and like what it is. But I didn't really know anything about it until this game came out. And it's basically this kind of like time looping narrative thing, kind of a clockwork world where you're kind of like uncovering things and like solving this mystery. And now it is set in like an ancient Roman city that you like fall from the present day into the past, and there's these people who are in this city that they don't know how they got there, and they don't know how to leave, and if anyone sins, then everyone dies. And it's basically this like whole golden rule thing, and it's pretty fun. It's like, if you're into narrative games, like I said, it's definitely, you're not there for like the performance or the graphics of this game. It looks good, but like it feels a lot like a lot of the same hitches and stutters that you get in old vanilla Skyrim you can see in this game. But I'm mostly, it was made by a team of 3 guys, and I'm mostly just super stoked to see what they do next. 'Cause this has like some pretty smart writing. It's a little cliched, but it's pretty fun. And there's some really goofy, dumb shit that you can do in it too. But yeah, I think it's like 20. I think it's on sale on Steam right now for like $20. I got about 10 hours out of it. There's like multiple endings, and yeah. And there's also, they just added an update that I was like, man, I wish they weren't so forward about the hints of where I'm supposed to go next, because like, it's not that hard to figure out, and I would be way more excited if like I just did that, and they just added a patch that you can do that apparently. So the other game I've been playing is called Death's Door, where you play a little crow boy.
That.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a really cool game. It's a kind of like isometric Zelda-y type game. People are also comparing it to Dark Souls a lot, which I get. But I don't know. I wouldn't, if someone had told that to me about this game, I'd be like, maybe it's not for me. I know what you guys wouldn't say that, but like, but it is one of those things, like combat is a little more, it does require a little more patience, but there isn't like the punishment for death like you get in Dark Souls. Like, you are literally collecting souls. Like, you're a crow who goes around and collects souls of people who've died and delivers them to the bureaucracy of hell, which is also run by a bunch of cool crows. But yeah, it's super fun.
Is it like RPG system where like Dark Souls, where you collect every enemy you kill gives you like some sort of currency essentially to?
Yes. Yeah. And then you use that currency to basically upgrade one of 4 stats. Which I don't know that I've seen a ton of difference from that yet. Like, especially like the first level of things are like pretty affordable. And then I saw the price for the second, and I was like, fuck, it's going to be a minute before I get there. But mostly, I mean, the game's just such a joy to like run around in. It's got like the really kind of softer color palette. It's real pretty. I think some of the writing in it is really good. Like, one of the first guys you run into is very reminiscent of the Onion Knight, just in appearance, but it's just a man who has a pot of soup for his head. And he's like, yeah, I really need help finding this witch to turn my head back into a head. Yeah, it's just fun. And you're just a little bird with a sword, which like, I do think with Skatebird coming out, this is just going to be the year of birds doing shit that you've never seen a bird do. And I'm okay with that.
I was watching some gameplay of it, and it looks like there's a cool feature where you have a bow, right?
Yes.
And like you have like 4 shots or something, and once you're out, you can refill it. Every like sword hit you get gives you back another arrow, which I thought was a cool way to manage the ranged versus.
Yeah, and that
melee
becomes
combat.
kind of like your magic because you can. You start out with like this bow, and then the next thing you get is just a fireball, and so you can kind of like switch between. There's 2 more slots, so I imagine there's like a couple other like abilities or whatever that you can put in there. But yeah, it's really fun. And it's one of those games where it's like, man, the exploration in this game is really exciting because I got a couple hours in, and then I was like, oh. Why doesn't this hedge just touch the other hedge? It's like, oh, I can just walk into these bushes that do not look like things I could walk into in a video game, and they lead to like all these little secrets. And it does that Dark Souls thing of like, I'm going through an area and now I'm kicking a ladder down, or I'm creating a ladder that's a shortcut to this area.
Are there checkpoints like bonfires or
No,
or those doors that go back to hell?
yeah. So the doors go back to hell. I'm trying to remember if that respawns. I do believe that respawns enemies in the area when you come back. I can't remember though. But yeah, and I think the boss fights are really cool.
And this is you can't get this on PlayStation, right? It's only Steam and Xbox.
Steam
right?
and Xbox right now. Yeah. I don't know if I don't know how long that's going to be here. I think it might be on Game Pass too. I don't know. I don't have Game Pass, so I didn't know. But yeah, I've just been playing it on Steam, and yeah, I really like it. It's a really, really fun game. So I think that's all I have to recommend. So until next week, when we cover the final 2 episodes of The Leftovers, and then maybe next week I don't know. We have to figure out what the fuck we're doing. Maybe it'll be the last episode of the podcast. Tune in to find out which one of us dies and which of us lives. Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, we didn't say names.
I'm Tyler McKinley.
You know who I am.
You know who I am.